A warm welcome to everyone. I am Haripriya, Assistant Professor, Department of Costume Design and Fashion. So in this video, we are going to continue with the past video. In this fashion illustration, we are going to see about the brief history of fashion illustration. So in this, there are 7th century we are going to see about 7 different stages. First, we are going to see about early beginning from 16th century to 18th century. In this period, so what is the development of fashion illustration? So first, early beginning 16th to 18th century. The fashion illustration during the 16th to 18th century laid the groundwork for what would later become a high specialized art form. It emerged primarily as a means of documenting and discriminating trends among the elite and aristocracy in era when clothing was a primary marker of status and identity. So first in the stages, the clothing is defined as a status and an identity of a people who is wearing it. So the fashion illustration, a groundwork, it was mainly used to create different art forms in the designs. So after that it was constructed as a garment. So it is the first stage for creating a garment. Next, the key developments. So what using this, what is the development of that? The first one is the role of illustration in every early fashion communications. Court influences and aristocratic style, the role of pattern book, the rise of fashion engraving in the 17th century, globalization of styles, characteristics of early fashion illustration, significant publications and artists' impact on fashion industry. So first is the role of illustration in the early fashion communication. Before the widespread use of photography, the fashion illustration were the primary way to showcase the clothing designs. Artists used detailed sketches, woodcuts and engraving to portray the garments, often including the patterns, embroidery and accessories. These illustrations were distributed through pattern books and early printed publications, enabling the tailors and dressmakers to recreate the fashionable designs. So it is the first stage to implement those different designs and different sketches, including what are the embroidery designs, what are the neck designs, what are the garment different patterns has been. First of all, it was designed using those illustration methods. After that only we can create at the photography. So it is a basic steps to create the dresses or garments in a different ways, through which was including both accessories, embroideries or different patterns using prints, whatever we need. It was included in the garment using the fashion illustration. So after portraying this, we have created the garments. So next, court influences and aristocratic style. The 16th century, particularly during the Renaissance, saw a focus on regal and elaborative designs. The fashion illustration depicted clothing worn by the nobility, showcasing luxurious fabrics, integrity embroideries and decorative terms. Royal courts such as those of England, Spain and France became the trendsetters, with monarchies like Queen Elizabeth I influencing the European fashion through their illustrated portraits. Role of pattern books. Early pattern books like Caesar Vissolis, Debilix Habitat Energy e Moderni in 1590s showcase the clothing styles from different regions and social classes. These books served as both inspiration and instructions for tailors and wealthy patrons, contributing to the spread of fashion trends across the Europe. The rise of fashion engraving, that is in 17th century. With the invention of the printing press, fashion engraving became the more accessible. In France, publications like the Mercury Glanta, founded in 1672, included detailed instructions of court fashion, promoting the latest style from the court of Louis XIV. These engraving often depicted both men's and women's attire, emphasizing the elegance, proportions and rich detailing. Globalization of styles. During this period, fashion illustration began to incorporate influences from other cultures, reflecting global trade and exchange of the textiles. For example, deposition of silk garments and kimono inspired designs showcased the influence of Asian textiles on Europe fashion. Characterization, that is characteristics of early fashion illustration. Statistic poses. The figures in early illustrations were often stiff and formal, resembling statues or portraits. The focus was on garment rather than the movement or personality. Detailed ornamentation. Special attention was given to fabric textures and the embellishments such as lace, ruffles and embroideries. Limited color use. More illustration, that is many illustrations were monochromatic due to the limitation of early printing techniques. Colors was sometimes added by hands. Symbolisms. Clothing was used to signify rank, occupation or region, making fashion illustrations not just artistic but also sociological documentation. Statistic poses. Using a statues or various designs, we can create garments like this. Second one is detailed ornamentation. So in this garment, it was the lace was used in the bottom of the garments and various accessories was used to the female figure. Next one is limited color use. So using some light colors, it was created those garments. Last one is symbolism. So it is differentiating the social status of the person who is wearing it. Okay, next. Significant publications and artistic. An Italian artistic and cousin of Titans, Veloci published Delict Habitat Antici e Moderni, which documented clothing from around the people or around the world and then considered one of the earliest examples of fashion illustration. Mercury Glani in 1672, a French periodical that set the standards for fashion publications by combining detailed fashion engraving with commentary on the latest styles. Nicolas de Larmesine, a French engraver known as a statistical engraving and dispatch of a lavish court attire different during the reign of Louis XIV. Impact on fashion industry. Documentation of trends. These early illustrations helped preserve the history of clothing styles, offering a glimpse in the material, craftsmanship and aesthetics of the time. Spread of fashion. By making designs accessible across region, fashion illustration played a role in standardizing and globalizing trends. Foundations for the modern illustration. The techniques developed during this period like engraving and detailed line work became the basis for future advancements in the field. Thank you.